Have you ever felt like no matter how much you visualize, affirm, or observe, reality doesn't really change? You hear about the observer effect, how consciousness collapses probability waves into specific outcomes, and yet something still feels stuck. That sense of repetition, of living the same patterns in different disguises, is not your imagination. It's the sign that you've reached the edge of the observer effect itself. The truth is, observation alone will never save you. Millions of people are trying to manifest, to focus harder, to watch their desired outcome into existence. But they're missing the deeper mechanism, the hidden gear turning beneath reality itself. Observer effect is only the shadow, the surface reflection of something infinitely more powerful. And if you are seeing this, it means that hidden shift has already started to stir in your field. You are not here by accident. You were magnetized into this moment by synchronicity, pulled into resonance with a message meant only for a rare few. The quantum field doesn't waste energy, it selects, and the fact that you're reading these words proves that you've been selected. You've felt it already. The restlessness, the strange distortions of time, the flashes of déjà vu. These are not random glitches. They are signals that you are ready to move beyond the observer effect into the realm of embodiment. What I am about to reveal is not just theory. It is the hidden key that determines whether your life continues looping in the same patterns, or whether you step into the timeline that was always waiting for you. Observer effect shapes experience. Yes, but only the hidden shift rewrites the entire framework of your reality. At the heart of quantum physics lies a phenomenon that has fascinated both scientists and mystics: the observer effect. Put simply, it means that your act of observing doesn't just witness reality, it helps create it. When a particle is unmeasured, it exists in a state of probability, like a wave of infinite possibilities. The moment consciousness interacts with it, that wave collapses into one concrete outcome. Your attention literally shapes what becomes real. Think of it like this. Imagine walking into a dark room filled with countless unopened doors. Each door represents a different possibility: health, abundance, struggle, failure, joy, despair. Until you choose, they all exist as probabilities. The moment you turn the handle on one door, the others fade into the background. At least for now, observation is the turning of the handle. It doesn't create the doors, it selects which one you will step through. This is why every thought, every focus of attention carries such weight. When you dwell on fear, you collapse reality into fearful experiences. When you focus on possibility, you collapse reality into expansive outcomes. Your consciousness is like a spotlight moving across an infinite stage. Wherever you shine it, that portion of reality lights up and solidifies, while the rest remains hidden in shadow. For years, spiritual teachers and scientists alike have pointed to the observer effect as proof that we are not passive beings, but active creators. And they are right up to a point. Understanding that your awareness collapses possibility into reality is the first step in awakening. But here's the secret most never realize. Observing reality is not the deepest mechanism. There is something even more powerful operating beneath observation itself. A hidden shift that changes not just what you see, but the frequency from which you exist. Here's the trap. Most people hear about the observer effect and immediately try to use it as a tool for manifesting. They visualize harder. They repeat affirmations. They stare at vision boards with desperate hope. And sometimes, yes, they get small results, little synchronicities, fleeting changes, but the bigger patterns of life, the relationships, the financial cycles, the inner struggles, they remain stubbornly the same. Why? Because observation without transformation is still anchored in the old frequency. If you keep observing from fear, you collapse fearful realities. If you observe from lack, You collapse timelines of more lack. The observer effect doesn't care about what you want. It responds to what you embody while you observe. Your frequency is the true selector, not your words or images. Imagine trying to tune a radio. You can stare at the dial all you want. You can even imagine hearing your favorite song, but if you don't actually shift the frequency, the station won't change. This is how most people misuse the observer effect. They try to overlay new images onto the same old frequency, expecting a different outcome, but the field doesn't respond to mental effort alone. It responds to coherence, the alignment of thought, emotion, and being. This is why so many people end up frustrated, thinking manifestation doesn't work. They're stuck in a loop, endlessly observing from the same state of consciousness, collapsing the same reality over and over. The observer effect is powerful, but without shifting your baseline frequency, it becomes a mirror that simply reflects your old self back at you. That's why a deeper mechanism, a hidden shift, is necessary for true transformation. Imagine reality as an infinite stage, filled with countless possible scenes. Each moment holds endless scripts: joy, fear, love, loss, abundance, scarcity, all waiting in the wings. But here's the catch. Not every script plays out at once. Your consciousness acts like a spotlight, and wherever you shine it, that scene comes alive. The observer effect is this spotlight in action. Focus on fear, and the stage illuminates a fearful story. Focus on possibility, and a brighter scene unfolds. The rest of the stage doesn't disappear, it simply stays hidden in shadow, unexpressed. This is why awareness feels so powerful. It literally determines what portion of the infinite stage you will experience. But here's the trap. Most people never move the spotlight. They shine it over and over on the same scene, the same patterns, the same limiting scripts. And because the stage keeps repeating what they illuminate, they believe that's all reality has to offer. They don't realize that infinite possibilities are waiting just outside the narrow beam of their attention. Think about your own life. How many times have you noticed yourself stuck in the same emotional storyline? Even when circumstances changed? That's not because reality is fixed, it's because your spotlight keeps returning to the same frequency pattern. This is the essence of the observer loop. Attention locked onto repetition. The real shift doesn't happen by shining harder or visualizing longer. It happens by daring to move the spotlight itself, by stepping beyond the familiar and aligning with a new frequency of being. Observer effect reveals the stage, but the hidden shift gives you the courage to choose a new scene entirely. One of the first signs that you've outgrown the basic level of the observer effect is the way reality itself starts to behave strangely around you. You've noticed it, haven't you? Moments of déjà vu where you feel like you've lived the exact same experience before, not just similar, but identical down to the tone of a voice or the look in someone's eyes. These are not accidents of memory. They are signals that your consciousness is brushing against parallel timelines. Then there are the glitches, the little cracks in the matrix. You might see repeating numbers on clocks at impossible frequency. Objects appear misplaced, only to reappear exactly where you swore you had already checked. Conversations echo themselves, as if time slipped and replayed a fragment. These anomalies are not errors. They are evidence that your awareness is stretching beyond the linear track most people are confined to. And perhaps most striking of all is the distortion of time. Hours vanish in what feels like minutes when you're in flow, while a few minutes can stretch into what feels like eternity during heightened awareness. This isn't poor timekeeping. It's your consciousness beginning to operate outside the strict grid of linear time, dipping into what quantum physicists call nonlinear temporality. Most people ignore these anomalies or explain them away. But for you, they've become too frequent, too precise, too undeniable. They are signals, signs that you are no longer confined to a single thread of reality. The observer effect explains how attention shapes outcomes, but these anomalies whisper a deeper truth. Your consciousness is starting to move between threads themselves. Another unmistakable sign that you've outgrown the surface level of the observer effect is the way your dreams and intuition have begun to change. Ordinary dreams fade upon waking, but lately your dreams feel more vivid, more real sometimes, even more real than waking life. You wake up with details imprinted in your mind. Places you've never visited yet recognize instantly. Conversations that later echo in reality. These aren't random firings of the brain. They are visits to alternate probability fields, where your consciousness explores parallel versions of your life. You may also notice flashes of knowing that come without logic, a sudden sense that something is about to happen, then it does. You think of someone, and they call. You feel a decision is right or wrong before the facts align to confirm it. This isn't coincidence or psychic trickery. It's your consciousness accessing information directly from the quantum field before it collapses into physical form. This kind of precognition happens because you're no longer bound to a single timeline. Instead, your awareness brushes against multiple possibilities, collecting fragments of information before one becomes real. That's why dreams often bleed into waking life. Why intuitions hit you with such clarity. Why the future sometimes feels like memory. For most people, these moments are dismissed as luck or imagination, but you know better. You've felt the accuracy. You've lived the confirmations. Dreams and intuitive knowings are the breadcrumbs of your higher consciousness, guiding you into recognition that you're already operating beyond the observer effect. They're proof that your awareness has begun to access the deeper layers where the hidden shift is waiting to fully activate. One of the clearest signs that you've outgrown the observer effect is the quiet recognition that you no longer experience life the way most people around you do. You sense it in conversations, in the way others cling to certainty, in how they assume reality is fixed. They talk about cause and effect, luck and circumstance, while inside you know something much deeper is at play. Most people stop at the observer effect and believe that observation is the deepest power consciousness holds. But here's the hidden truth. Observation is not the beginning of reality creation. It's already the middle of the process. Think of it like entering a theater. The observer effect is like choosing where to shine the spotlight on stage. But long before that, a decision has already been made about which play is being performed. You can illuminate different corners of the stage, but you can't see scenes that aren't part of this chosen production. That choice of play is the hidden selection process, an unconscious alignment of your frequency with a specific reality framework. This is why two people can live side by side, facing the same external events, and yet their lives look completely different. One experiences endless struggle. The other experiences synchronicities and breakthroughs. It isn't their observations alone that differ. It's the deeper layer, the field they are selected into, determined by the frequency they embody before they ever look. So while the observer effect shows you that attention matters, the hidden shift reveals something more radical. It's not just what you observe, but from where you observe. Your baseline vibration quietly selects the framework of reality long before your conscious mind thinks it's making a choice. This is the secret beneath the surface, the layer of creation that most never see. Here's the critical misunderstanding. Most people think manifestation is about mental focus, about staring harder, visualizing longer, repeating affirmations until reality bends. But the quantum field doesn't respond to mental effort alone. It responds to the frequency you embody. You are like a tuning fork. Whatever vibration you carry, the field resonates with and amplifies. If you embody fear, your observations collapse, fearful realities. If you embody coherence, your observations naturally align with coherent timelines. The spotlight of attention is real, but the light bulb itself, the source of the beam, is your embodied state. Without shifting the source, the spotlight can only keep illuminating versions of the same old play. Think of it this way. Focus without embodiment is like trying to project a movie onto a screen when the film reel hasn't changed. No matter how intently you watch, the same scenes repeat. The only way the story changes is when the reel itself is swapped out. That reel is your frequency, your embodied state of being. This is why people get frustrated when their visualizations don't work. They're trying to overlay new pictures on the same vibration. But the field doesn't respond to imagination alone. It responds to the resonance of your entire system: thought, emotion, body, and spirit vibrating in coherence. The hidden shift is this: you don't have to force reality with focus. You become the frequency of the reality you wish to experience. And the field reorganizes accordingly. Focus directs. Embodiment transforms. That's why true quantum change is not about thinking harder, but about embodying who you are on the highest timeline. Imagine stepping onto a stage where you believe you're improvising every line. You think your choices are spontaneous, that each word you speak is creating the story in real time. But then, slowly, you notice a strange pattern. No matter what you do, the plot keeps circling back to the same themes, the same endings. That's when you realize you've been following an invisible script all along. This is what happens when people rely only on the observer effect. They believe their observations are writing reality fresh each day. But beneath those choices lies a hidden framework, a script already selected by the frequency they embody. Observation isn't the author. It's the spotlight revealing what's already been scripted by your vibration. This is why people feel trapped in repeating loops. They try to think differently, but the storyline still circles back. They affirm abundance while embodying scarcity. And the script delivers another chapter of lack. They visualize love while embodying fear of rejection. And the play brings yet another heartbreak. The script doesn't lie. It faithfully mirrors the frequency carried beneath conscious thought. The liberation comes when you recognize the script itself can change, not by forcing the lines, but by shifting the vibration that writes them. The hidden shift isn't about memorizing better affirmations or focusing harder on stage. It's about embodying a new identity altogether. One that selects an entirely different play before the spotlight even shines. Observer effect shows you that you are part of the performance. The hidden shift reveals that you are also the playwright. And the moment you embody a new script, the stage of reality must reorganize to match it. The hidden quantum shift doesn't begin with more focus or sharper observation. It begins with something far more radical: the death of the old identity. This is the part few are willing to face, because it feels like loss. The old you that has repeated the same patterns, clung to the same fears, and carried the same stories, must dissolve for the shift to activate. Think of the self you've been living as a container, a frequency shell that defines which realities you are allowed to access. As long as you stay inside that shell, you keep looping through the same experiences. No matter how much you observe differently, the hidden shift requires the cracking open of that shell, and just like a snake shedding its skin, or a seed splitting in darkness, the process feels like disintegration before rebirth. This identity death is not about annihilation, but about release. You are not losing who you truly are. You are losing the mask, the defense, the outdated vibration that kept you aligned with limited timelines. When the old self falls away, what remains is raw awareness, pure frequency, ready to align with a higher field. It is in this vulnerable moment, when the familiar dissolves, that the hidden shift ignites. Reality reorganizes, not because you forced it, but because the version of you observing has changed. The spotlight doesn't just move, it transforms into a different kind of light altogether. And once the old identity dies, the new timeline doesn't just appear, it claims you. In quantum physics, there is a concept called decoherence. It describes the moment when a quantum system loses its superposition of possibilities and locks into one clear state. Hidden shift operates in much the same way. Once your old identity dissolves, the field no longer sustains the probabilities that belong to it. The loops, patterns, and timelines tied to the old you collapse completely. They cannot continue because the observer they depended on no longer exists. This is why real transformation often feels irreversible. You can't truly go back to who you once were, because that frequency no longer resonates with you. Just as a caterpillar cannot return to being a crawling insect once it is liquefied in the cocoon, the old probabilities simply disintegrate. The hidden shift isn't just about stepping into the new, it's about the permanent collapse of the old. At first, this can feel destabilizing. The old anchors vanish, and familiar reference points dissolve. The relationships, habits, or beliefs that once defined you begin to lose their grip. But this is not destruction, it is liberation. It is the universe ensuring that the old frequencies no longer interfere with the timeline you are stepping into. Decoherence, in the quantum sense, is what makes observation meaningful. And in your life, identity decoherence is what makes hidden shift unstoppable. The moment the old you collapses, reality reorganizes itself around the new vibration you carry. The field doesn't hesitate. It doesn't stall. It simply aligns with the coherence of who you have become. Most people imagine transformation as an upgrade, like adding wings to a caterpillar so it can fly. But real transformation is far more radical. When a caterpillar enters the cocoon, it doesn't simply sprout wings. Its entire body dissolves into a kind of primordial soup. The creature literally liquefies, breaking down everything it was, so a completely new form can emerge. That is the hidden shift. The same happens with you. The hidden shift isn't about layering positive thoughts on top of an old identity. It's about dissolving that identity altogether, so a higher version of you can reorganize from the inside out. Just as the butterfly cannot carry the body of the caterpillar into flight, you cannot carry the vibration of the old self into the new timeline. The old must disintegrate to make room for the new coherence. And when the butterfly finally emerges, it doesn't crawl, it soars. The field doesn't simply give you a slightly better version of the old life. It delivers an entirely new dimension of existence, one that was impossible from within the caterpillar's body. The first step in applying the hidden shift is not to fight your old reality, but to recognize the loop and stop feeding it. Most people waste energy resisting the very patterns that are trying to dissolve. They wrestle with fear, struggle against scarcity, argue with limitation, yet in doing so, they keep pouring energy back into the loop. The field doesn't care whether you love or hate the frequency. As long as you keep engaging with it, you keep sustaining it. Recognition is liberation. When you notice the same storyline repeating, whether it's another failed relationship, another financial setback, another cycle of self-doubt, you don't have to fight it. You simply have to stop energizing it. Imagine a fire that looks fierce but is fueled only by the logs you throw in. If you stop feeding it, the flames naturally burn out. This is the secret. The loop isn't as powerful as it seems. It only survives because of your attention. By stepping back and seeing it for what it is, a recycled projection of the old self, you rob it of the energy it needs to continue. You don't collapse it by force, you collapse it by neglect. Instead of asking, "How do I fight this?" ask, "What happens if I simply stop playing this role?" That single shift in perspective is enough to weaken the loop, because once you withdraw your energy, the field can no longer sustain the old script. The loop ends, not with a battle, but with your quiet refusal to participate. The hidden shift doesn't require complex rituals or endless techniques. In fact, the most powerful practices are often the simplest small acts that bring you back into coherence and anchor the frequency of your higher timeline. These are not about forcing change. They are about embodying the new reality in small, repeatable ways that rewire the field around you. One micro-practice is the 3-breath reset. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and take 3 slow, intentional breaths. With each inhale, feel the old frequency loosening. With each exhale, silently declare, "This loop ends now." This simple act tells your body, mind, and energy system that you are stepping out of the old script and into alignment. Another practice is written declaration. Take a piece of paper and write one sentence. I am coherent with my highest timeline. Carry it in your wallet, your pocket, or place it where you'll see it daily. Each time you encounter the words, you're reminded that you are not waiting for change. You are embodying it right now. A third micro practice is embodied awareness. The next time an old pattern arises, fear, doubt, or scarcity, pause. Instead of reacting, place your awareness in your body. Feel your feet on the ground. And remind yourself, this story no longer belongs to me. By interrupting the automatic response, you reclaim the energy that once kept the loop alive. These simple practices may look small, but they are quantum keys. Each act reinforces coherence, not just in thought, but in your entire being. And when you embody the frequency of your higher self in daily micro-rituals, the hidden shift doesn't stay abstract. It becomes your lived reality. One of the greatest fears people carry is that letting go means losing. The old self clings to relationships, habits, and beliefs with the illusion that without them, nothing will remain. But in truth, letting go is not loss, it is unlocking. It is the key that opens the door to the self that has been waiting beneath the clutter all along. Think of your life like a tightly clenched fist. Inside the fist may be a few pebbles-old stories, outdated identities, the comfort of what you already know. The fist squeezes tighter out of fear that releasing them means having nothing, but only when the hand opens can it receive something new. Letting go is not about emptiness. It's about creating the space where abundance can enter. Every time you release an old pattern, whether it's the scarcity mindset, the fear of rejection, or the need for control, you are not losing security. You are reclaiming freedom. The energy that was once bound to sustaining the loop becomes available for creation, for coherence, for alignment with your highest timeline. Surrender is not passive. It is the most active choice you can make. It says, I no longer feed the illusion. I allow the field to reorganize around who I truly am. This is the hidden shift in practice. The moment you let go of what you thought kept you safe, you discover it was the very thing keeping you trapped. And in that release, the lock clicks open, and the higher self steps forward. Your hidden shift is never just about you. The moment your frequency changes, the field around you begins to reorganize. Like ripples spreading across water, your coherence radiates outward, touching the people, spaces, and events in your orbit. Even if they don't consciously understand what's happening, they feel it. Your presence alone becomes a signal. Think about the last time you were around someone truly calm and centered. Without a word, their energy made you breathe easier, as if the atmosphere itself became lighter. This is the ripple effect in action. When you embody coherence, your vibration sets a new tone for the environment. The people near you unconsciously begin to adjust, aligning to the field you carry. This is not force. You don't need to convince, preach, or control. Energy communicates faster and deeper than words ever could. Just as one tuning fork causes another to vibrate in resonance, your hidden shift naturally invites others into coherence. Sometimes this shows up as friends suddenly reevaluating their lives, strangers opening up to you, or entire situations resolving themselves without effort. The ripple effect reminds you that your shift matters more than you realize. Every moment you choose coherence, you are not just altering your personal timeline, you are reshaping the collective field. And though you may never see all the results directly, the waves continue long after you've moved on, expanding into places and people you may never meet. Your hidden shift is not private. It is contagious, and every ripple you create brings humanity one step closer to awakening. There is a principle in consciousness studies known as morphic resonance. It suggests that when something new is learned or embodied by one individual, it becomes easier for others to access the same state. Like trails carved in a forest, once the path is walked, it remains imprinted in the collective field for others to follow. Your hidden shift contributes directly to this resonance every time you break a loop, embody coherence, or align with your highest timeline. You are not just transforming your own life, you are imprinting that possibility into the field of humanity. What was once rare becomes more natural. What seemed impossible becomes available. Think of how inventions, discoveries, or breakthroughs often appear in multiple places at once. It's not coincidence. It's morphic resonance at work the field remembers, and others can tune into that memory. The same applies to awakening. When you embody the hidden shift, you anchor a memory of freedom, coherence, and expanded awareness into the morphic field. This means your personal work is never wasted, even if no one around you understands, even if your changes seem invisible. The field remembers. You make it easier for the next person to break their loop, to surrender, to awaken, and they, in turn, make it easier for those after them. Morphic resonance is the invisible bridge that connects your shift to the awakening of the collective. Every act of embodiment is multiplied, echoed, and amplified through the field. And in this way, your hidden shift is not just personal liberation, it's an offering to humanity itself. Every hidden shift is like the lighting of a single lantern. On its own, it illuminates a small space, but as more lanterns are lit, their light begins to overlap, weaving together into something far greater, a web of illumination that no darkness can withstand. This is what is happening now across the planet. Each time you embody coherence, you strengthen your light, and that light does not remain isolated. It connects with others who have also shifted, creating invisible lines of resonance. These lines form a network, a living web of light that spans across humanity. You may never meet many of the people in this network, yet you are connected to them through the field. This web explains why you sometimes feel supported in moments when no one around you seems to understand. The strength you sense is not imaginary. It is the resonance of countless others holding the same vibration. Their light interweaves with yours, amplifying your courage and stabilizing your shift. The more people awaken, the stronger the web becomes, and once the web reaches a certain density, it no longer just connects individuals. It begins to shape the collective reality itself. Structures of fear, separation, and scarcity cannot survive in the presence of such coherence. They unravel naturally, replaced by unity, compassion, and flow. Your hidden shift is one lantern among many. Alone it matters, but together it is unstoppable. You are part of the web of light, a global network of awakening souls weaving a new reality into existence. And with every embodied choice you make, the web shines brighter, guiding humanity forward. The hidden shift is not just a personal journey, it is part of something far larger, a collective awakening that is reshaping humanity itself. Around the globe, more and more people are reporting the same signs: vivid synchronicities, time distortions, intuitive surge, and the deep knowing that life cannot continue as it has. This is not coincidence. It is a planetary shift in consciousness, and you are part of the first wave. Being in the first wave can feel both exhilarating and heavy. On one hand, you carry the thrill of pioneering uncharted territory, of experiencing dimensions of reality that many still deny. On the other, you may feel the loneliness of walking a path others cannot yet see. But understand this: the very fact that you are awakening earlier means you are a catalyst. Your shift makes it easier for others to shift. Your coherence makes the field more coherent for everyone. This is the essence of collective awakening. Each individual transformation contributes to the tipping point. When enough people embody the hidden shift, the entire field of humanity reorganizes. What feels impossible today? Peace. Unity. Compassion becomes natural once the field supports it. You are not carrying this alone. You are one of many sparks igniting a global fire. Remember, awakening is not random. It is orchestrated. The fact that you are here, resonating with this message, means you are part of the design. You are not ahead by accident. You are a forerunner, holding the frequency of what humanity is destined to become. And as the first wave, your awakening is not just for you, it is for all. What does life look like after the hidden shift? The answer is coherence. In the old paradigm, existence was built on struggle, pushing, forcing, and surviving against odds. You had to hustle to prove your worth, fight to hold relationships together, and chase opportunities as if they were scarce. But in the new dimension, reality no longer emerges from resistance. It flows from alignment. Coherence means that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are no longer at war with each other. You don't say one thing, feel another, and act in contradiction. Instead, you embody a single vibration, clear, unified, resonant. And when your internal field is coherent, the external world reflects that harmony back to you. Life begins to feel like surfing a wave rather than swimming upstream. In this state, opportunities arrive with ease because you no longer block them with doubt. Relationships deepen naturally because you are no longer projecting fear or scarcity. Even challenges lose their heaviness. They transform into invitations for growth rather than threats to survival. Coherence doesn't mean perfection. It means flow, the effortless synchronization of inner and outer reality. This is the gift of the hidden shift, the discovery that life was never meant to be constant struggle. Struggle was the symptom of incoherence, of trying to live from a fractured self. Once you embody coherence, life itself becomes the evidence of alignment. Every interaction, every choice, every breath carries the resonance of your highest timeline. And in that resonance, you find not just ease, but the quiet power of being fully yourself. Reality is not something happening to you, it is something reflecting from you. The hidden shift makes this truth undeniable. Once your frequency changes, the field around you reorganizes like a mirror adjusting its reflection. And just as a mirror cannot reflect an image that isn't there, reality cannot show you a version of yourself that you no longer embody. This is the essence of the quantum mirror. Every thought, every emotion, every embodied state is projected outward. And the world responds with precise symmetry. Carry fear, and you see fearful patterns. Carry coherence, and life reflects harmony. The mirror doesn't judge, it doesn't delay, it simply reflects. The most powerful part is this: once you've shifted your frequency, the mirror cannot return to showing the old image. Just as glass cannot unshatter once broken, the hidden shift is irreversible. The old self may try to reassert itself, but it no longer has resonance. The mirror only reflects what is truly embodied now. This is why after a hidden shift, life feels fundamentally different. The people you meet, the opportunities that arise, even the way time flows, all of it reorganizes to match your new vibration. You may try to explain it to others, but it often sounds unbelievable until they experience it themselves. And yet, to you, it feels natural because the mirror is simply doing its job. The quantum mirror is your greatest assurance. You don't have to cling to proof. You only have to embody. Once the hidden shift occurs, the reflection changes forever. And in that reflection, you finally see not who you were, but who you were always meant to be. The hidden shift is not just an idea, it is a living reality already unfolding within you. You've seen the signs, the glitches, The dreams, the time distortions, the sense of being different. You've recognized that the observer effect is only the doorway, not the destination, and now you know. The real transformation happens when the old identity dissolves. When you embody coherence, when you let go and allow the field to reorganize, this is the moment where awareness becomes choice. You can continue feeding the old loops, clinging to the invisible script, waiting for proof, or you can declare the shift, embody it, and step into the timeline that has always been waiting for you. The power is not outside. It has never been. It is in the frequency you carry right now. So here is your invitation. Declare it. Speak it. Write it. Anchor it into your field, so the quantum mirror has no choice but to reflect it back. Say it in the comments. Say it aloud to yourself. I embody coherence. I am aligned with my highest timeline. My hidden shift is activated now. This is not just a statement. It's a frequency key. The moment you declare it with awareness, you move beyond the observer effect and into the hidden shift. You stop being a passenger in reality and become its source. Remember, your shift is irreversible. Once you step through this threshold, the old cannot claim you again. You are already part of the awakening wave, already woven into the web of light. And as you rise, you lift the field for all of humanity. The hidden shift is here, and it begins with you.